Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Back talking some Big Ten, Michigan, Iowa football as Michigan goes on the road to Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. Dill, a game that we were supposed to be at, a game that on the preseason you kind of circled as Michigan's first big test. Well, guess what? That first big test came week 4 against Maryland, a very good football team. Before we get into it, though, just wanted to say thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown the channel, especially the Michigan fans. You know that's our team. We preview every week. We watch every game. We love talking Michigan football. And then the Iowa fans. I mean, this is a classic Iowa football team. We were playing really good defense. You're not really doing much on offense. Dill, let's kick it to you first. What are your early takes on this game here?
I mean, if Michigan doesn't beat this team by a lot of points, I think I'd be wildly disappointed. Just because I mean, you're playing a real high school level offense with what Iowa's doing, and I don't totally know what they can change because like at this point, Brian Ferentz is the offensive coordinator. Is Kirk gonna fire him? I mean, I think anyone with a brain thinks like, well, how can you keep this coordinator? For so long, they've been pathetic on offense for now going on 2 straight years, and I don't know how it gets better. Petrus really, I don't think is the guy. They're not running the football particularly well, and I don't know what you do as Iowa right now.
I think that's the biggest starting with Iowa on the offensive side of the ball. I think that's the biggest thing that they're missing is you're used to when you're talking Iowa football on the offense side of the ball. Smash mouth football. We're running the ball. We're staying on schedule. We're getting to 3rd and 2, and we're converting, and we're marching down the field. What you've seen the last 2 years is, yeah, Tyler Linderbaum was really good last year. He was really the only good offensive lineman on Iowa last year. This year's Iowa offensive line, there's not too many guys you feel great about, and they're not running the ball very well on 1st and 2nd down, which they run the ball all the time on 1st and 2nd down. What does that set you up with? Spencer Petras, 3rd and 7 plus, and they just can't get it done. Asking Spencer Petras to sit in the pocket and push the ball down the field vertically is not his game. And quite frankly, yes, Spencer Petras has been brutal. He's completing like 50% of his balls for an average of 5.6 yards an attempt. Like really, really bad stuff. But you look at like who he has to work with. Sam Laporta, a tight end that I really like, and then Arian Bruce. Outside of that, there's like walk-on wide receivers and it's just not many guys that you look on this Iowa team on the outside and say, like, I'm scared of that.
And when I think Iowa passing attack, it's like all I think about is bootleg or rolling out quarterbacks off the point of action. So like if you're not going to run the football, then what is Iowa going to do? And yeah, when you have an offensive line that is very much not in the vein of the Iowa offensive lines that you kind of come to expect under Kirk Ferentz, there's just nothing they can do to beat Michigan because you just know they're not going to be able to throw it. I mean, that's right into the teeth of what Michigan's done really well this year, which is shut teams down in the secondary. Even Maryland honestly didn't get a ton in the air. So I don't really see what Iowa's going to do to move the ball. I really don't see how they score unless Michigan's turning it over.
And we saw that. I think that's the story of like when you look at how Iowa's manufactured points, it's turnovers and special teams. That's how they've done it all of last year, and that's how they're doing it this year. I mean, it is a defense that is dominant, like one of the best defenses in the country. They ask a lot from the defense because they're not getting many points from the offense. The thing with this is you look at who Iowa's played leading up to this game: South Dakota State, Nevada, Iowa State, and Rutgers. Outside of Iowa State, who I think has some playmakers, like Nevada's really bad. South Dakota State's an FCS team. That's a good FCS team, but in terms of athleticism on the outside that's pushing, you're not going to have much success running the ball between the tackles against Iowa. They're very good there. They have a good secondary, but how you can beat Iowa and how Michigan got the best of Iowa in the Big Ten championship game last year was getting their athletes on the outside in space, getting Blake Corum on the perimeter against those linebackers. As good as some of those backers are, like edge Blake Corum, that's what Michigan needs to do on Saturday.
And I don't see how we can't do that. I think the offensive talent on Michigan's only gotten better. I mean, guys like Roman Wilson are really stepping up, and it's like what gave Iowa problems was just really good athleticism in space, and that's one thing Michigan has shown to be pretty effective this year. And now I will say we're going to probably need a a more composed JJ McCarthy. I mean, last game he just frankly looked a little rattled. He wasn't hitting the deep passes. Obviously, the issues with the pocket composure where he's scrambling around, getting sacked, taking fumbles, like those things can't happen. And I think as Michigan fans, we're all kind of hoping that was first big game jitters where he was actually challenged because he really hasn't seen anything difficult yet. And naturally, he did look really good in most aspects of the game. I think the short and intermediate football was really good, but he needs to hit those big plays, and he needs to not make really bad decisions that cost a lot of field position. Because again, that's probably what Iowa wants to do. They want to get sacks, they want to get picks, they want to force turnovers.
You saw that Maryland kind of gave the recipe early on for kind of getting after JJ a little bit, is making him kind of take the checkdowns. JJ's a guy that he has all the talent in the world, and he wants to hit the big play every play. And I think we saw him struggle with that, like not taking the checkdowns, not taking the short intermediate throws, and looking to push the ball down the field. And when it's not there, he just starts kind of scrambling for his life. And you can get into trouble, and Iowa will get you into trouble, and they will capitalize on you trying to do too much. That's the key to this game is Michigan. If it's not there, punt. You'll get the ball back in 2 minutes. Like, there's no reason to push the ball down the field. There's no reason to try to make these plays because, again, throw the ball away, punt, you'll get the ball back in 2 more minutes. It's not like every possession means the world. If JJ can do that, and if we don't turn the ball over more than one time, I think we win this game comfortably. Dill, let's get to the pick here. Michigan coming in on the road, 10-point favorites. Where are you leaning here?
Again, I mean, I'd say I'd be so disappointed to see Michigan not win by 17 points. I just think if Michigan wants to be where they want to be and where I think they can be, that needs to be a big blowout win against these teams because Iowa's really not competitive in the scheme of Big Ten football, I don't think. And yeah, I get they made it to the Big Ten West championship last year, but they had some weird games and the Big Ten West, frankly, was just really down. Minnesota was down and Wisconsin was down. So I don't see this Iowa team as a wildly competitive. And yeah, I get it's at Kinnick at night, whatever. People like Jim Harbaugh, what do you say? That's where top 5 teams go to die. Like, this isn't those same Iowa teams. They don't run the ball very well. I think their defense is good, but I don't know that it's going to be this like nightmare defense that maybe Iowa's had in the past. And I frankly think Michigan's more equipped to play an athletic brand of football that maybe we didn't play in 2016 when we lost that game.
So what I'll push back on is I do think this Iowa team is a like they're going to keep games close. I don't know if they'll keep it close against Michigan. That's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to keep this one close until the fourth quarter, try to have a turnover, a big play go their way, and come out with a win. That's what they kind of play that Minnesota brand where we're going to limit possessions. We're going to keep this close, and we're going to try to win in the fourth quarter.
You can't do that when you can't. I guess you can't do that when you can't run the ball, and Iowa can't really run the ball. They haven't been able to run the ball in a little while, it seems.
And hence they rely on getting these turnovers in their own end and getting a short field for Spencer Petras and trying to squeak out a field goal or a touchdown and then winning the game with only 17 points. Here's what I think one of the bigger storylines. Donnie Edwards needs to be healthy. We talked about it pre-show. I mean, CJ Stokes, our running back 3, true freshman, comes in and fumbles in a massive spot against Maryland, doesn't see the ball anymore. Blake Corum's a guy, he had 30 touches. He can carry the load, but having an RB2, and this is going to be a much more physical game, having a running back 2 who's special like Donovan Edwards is going to be massive because, quite frankly, you're not going to trust CJ Stokes with an Iowa Hawkeye team that just is a ball hawk in terms of forced fumbles. You don't want Isaiah Gash running the football. You're going to want 2 running backs that you trust. I think if Donnie Edwards is healthy, that's going to – especially in terms of when you motion Donovan Edwards out as a wide receiver and a linebacker follows him, like that's where I really think you can exploit this Iowa team. Getting some of that speed running backs out in the perimeter in space. It's probably where Iowa's most gettable. I'm with you, Dill. I don't really see Iowa scoring more than 10 points. I think Michigan will be able to score 3-4 touchdowns. I think we win this game by at least 14 points. At the end of the day, this Michigan team is faster. And yes, Iowa's defense has looked good this year. They are a good defense. I'm not trying to argue that they aren't. What team, when you look at their schedule, poses the athleticism and the speed, and you saw Urban Meyer hyping Michigan up. This Michigan team is very fast on both sides of the football, especially on offense. I think you look through the schedule, South Dakota State, Iowa State, Nevada, Rutgers. None of those teams have the speed Michigan does. If you're trying to beat Iowa, it's not going to be in the tackle box. It's going to be out on the perimeter, getting your good dogs in space. It's how Michigan beat them last year. I think that's how they're going to beat them this year. I get it. It's on the road at Kinnick. It's a hard place to play. Michigan just has the better athletes. I think they'll be able to take advantage. JJ's got to settle down. I think we will do that, and I think Michigan rolls with a 10-plus point victory here.
Yeah, and it is a nice test for JJ for sure. Where because again, I think we all want to see. I think if you're a Michigan fan, you're not a little nervous. Like, all right, can we do what we need? Like, can JJ be the guy we need him to be? Because you did see the great moments for sure, but you also saw too many of the moments we were kind of like, oh no, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And there were a couple of those moments that are. Okay, maybe this is why Cade was playing last year.
I was just going to say that you saw the moments against Maryland that explained why Cade started all year last year. That Michigan can't have that happen. I'm confident that JJ will play more within himself. Again, first Big Ten game, first game where he was a full-time starter the whole entire game. I mean, there were some jitters. He wanted to kind of make some plays, and sometimes you just got to take what's there. JJ needs to do that against Iowa. I think he will do it. I think Michigan rolls in Kinnick Stadium. That'll do it for the boys. Again, a little bit of a homer take, but yeah, we are Michigan fans. We appreciate you guys checking us out for real, though. If you do like the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.